Great to be here. I like this format, this kind of, I think I have to move around just to be a true Teddian. I don't even know if that's a word. But thank you, Joe, for your thoughts and insight. I did see hands raised who like to ask, I love you. And for those people who struggle with asking, I hope that I can give you some insight. When we started at Covenant House in New Jersey about 30 years, next month I'll be celebrating 41 years at Covenant House. So thank you, because that just means I'm old. But when we started back 30 years ago in New Jersey, we just had 2 vans. And we drove around the streets of Atlantic City and Newark and Trenton and just did one thing. We listened. We listened. I think that's a really important part if you want to serve, whether it's your customer or your constituency, whoever that is, you need to listen. So often we're quick to sell, right, to push our stuff. But it's the listening. And 2 things happened when we listened to these young people who we found abandoned on the street. One is we fell in love. And the second thing that happened was we were called to action. For those people who can ask, I suggest you fall in love. Because I can't ask for a quarter, I think it's a quarter now, for the meter if I need one and I don't have a quarter. But for the young people who I've come to meet and appreciate and be inspired by their grit, their desire, their sense of humor, who they are, I have fallen in love and I can beg. I can beg. And no one's getting out of here, by the way, without an ask. So we got you locked at the door. We've got this thing at the door. You're not getting out because we're going to beg. And because we need each other in community. We need each other to empathize with the world around us and not to be overwhelmed by the shadows and the darkness. Not easy. This inclusion and equality thing has been a thing that has hopefully inspired and challenged and depressed some of us in what our current environment is. And I hope that it motivates us to do something. So this falling in love thing has challenged us to do different things, to be creative and to create partnerships. Because the challenge that we have of poverty, of racism, of injustice is so big. If we don't work communally, it ain't happening. And we have to do significant things. One of the things that I'd like to talk a little bit about today, and I could talk about Covenant House for days, but I got 20 minutes, so I'm going to stay on this. I want to talk about this falling in love with young people. People who are on the outside. 15% of our kids experience human trafficking. We are overrepresented by people of color, and we are overrepresented by gay, lesbian, and transgender youth. That's just the math. Joe, I should have had you do that part of the math, because I'm not so much of a math guy. But I do love these kids, and they're good kids who want more in their lives. We have found that out. And so what do we need to do as an agency? What do we need to do as a society is this inclusion and equality thing is real, and if we don't work on it collaboratively, it ain't going to change. I think there's a real fear that I have that this issue is going to kind of fade because we're not really coming up with good answers and real things to do. I don't know, do you feel that a little bit? I know this crowd isn't a big hand raiser, right, Joe? No one raised their hand. Keep your hands by your coffee cup. I don't want your hand. But I will tell you this, if we don't work collaboratively, it isn't going to change. And I have another fear, too, is that we sometimes feel that we can't do anything, so what the hell, why do anything? It's just the train left the station, we're waving as the caboose leaves the station. And I think that's a real danger. And I want to challenge each one of you to do what you can. So one of the things we did at Covenant House and working with our young people, we work with ages 18 to 21. They're moving out of adolescence and childhood into adulthood. We have a wonderful opportunity, but we got to hit it. Because if we don't hit it, they move into the adult homeless population, and the services and the ability to transcend that diminish dramatically. So what do? We go to our brothers and sisters. Some of them at these tables, I hope. And what we've tried to do is, the challenge that is before us is we've got to get these young people ready to work so that they can be successful. That's on us, right? We need to have them able to work. Many of you who've employed people, you know the struggle on that one, right? Trying to get people who are capable and competent to do the job. And the reason why we need to do that is twofold. The employer needs to get somebody they can count on and can do the job. But we also want to set these young people up for success. To put a young person, and I've seen it, we put them in jobs that they're over their head. We threw them in the deep end and we threw them a bowling ball. And they're not going to make it. And that puts them in an ugly spot. It puts the employer in an ugly spot. It just doesn't work. You've all experienced it, I'm sure. And so what do we do? So here's what we're trying to do at Covenant House, and we've had some real success. We've got to partner with agencies like we partnered with Salesforce and Accenture and Audible. And what we've tried to do is create training programs for the young people. Many of them have spots in their education, but they have skills and talents to get them trained before they even start, before they even go through the door. So they got wind in their sails, right? They're ready to go. They've learned some key soft skills and hard skills. And those agencies have to partner with us to say, this is what we need, right? So we co-create a training program for our young people before they even get in the door. They got wind in their sails, and the employer, though, has to help us to understand what that employer needs for our kids to be successful. We have a great program in Audible now, and they train our kids to be customer service people. And it's a beautiful story because I just went into the training not too long ago, and we had 6 of our kids in the training, and the trainer was a Covenant House kid who went through the program. So we thought that was just, and she's fantastic, right? And so now we're getting that person the skills before they even start. They got a little wind in their sails because when they walk into a situation of employment, they're overwhelmed. Right? You went to think of your first day of work. You probably, if you're like me, you can't even remember it. But if you can try to remember it, you had a resume, you had a degree, you had some wind in your sails, and you were still nervous as hell. Take all that away. You're frightened to death. So how do we nurture and care for our kids to get them ready to be effective in the employment situation? That's one. Then we have to work with the employer to be sensitive to the challenges of our young people. That's important. Getting to a place, getting from our shelter to work can be a real challenge. So we have to try to work collaboratively together and to help our young people when they walk in to be greeted and have the supervisor have a sensitivity to that. Now, there's a thing there. We don't want them to treat our kids, with kid gloves because they have to be employees, right? But there also has to be a sensitivity to where they come from and who they are. And there's a little bit of the rub. And then the third thing we've realized is that our kids need to be coached. They need to be hey, zip your fly, right? Get the schmutz off your shirt and get on time. Be 5 minutes early, right? Weren't you told that growing up? I had 4 sisters. I got told a lot before I left the door, right? I'm surprised I got my 2 friends behind me telling me what to do here. Zip my fly. Okay, so, right, we were told that, right? We needed that kind of nurturance and care. Our young people need that too. They need champions in their lives. We've done a huge study. We are the service provider for human trafficking in New Jersey. We were told that there's probably about 56 clients we'd get a year. The Attorney General has asked us to be the lead agency to do that. We served 156. So we did an intensive study. I could send it to you if you want. But one of the things that we learned was a preventing factor for human trafficking was a meaningful relationship with an adult. We got to care. We got to connect. We got to be about somebody else. We got to get out of our fence yard and look across the street and help. And we've got to connect. And these young people need somebody in their lives who's kind of coaching them, who's giving them this and giving them, it's a kiss and a kick, right? You can't say that to social workers because I just violated some kind of policy with the kick and the kiss. You can't kiss or kick, but you know what I'm saying. You need to nurture our young people. They need to have somebody in their corner. I will tell you this, working for 41 years, this is the common thread of the young people that we serve, thousands each year. They come from some different economic backgrounds, mostly poverty though, by far. The common thing is their aloneness. It's their aloneness. The richness in all of our lives are those people we love and who love us, right? Right? Our young people don't have that, or they don't have it consistently. And so one of the things that we have seen as we look towards diversification, we have challenged our employers. You want to be part of this inclusion? Black Lives Matter to you? You want to have inclusion? Step up. Step up. It requires a stepping up. How do we work collaboratively? And I think for the larger businesses, they have more flexibility, for sure. The smaller businesses, I think, have a bigger challenge than that. I can understand that. But we got to be creative, and we've got to be thoughtful. We've got to challenge ourselves to do this triad, right? This early training. I think it's important. We've seen great success with early training. Before you walk in the building, you got 2 steps ahead. And this employment opportunity. You know, I don't give a kid a certificate. Boy, that just pisses me off, right? You know, here, thanks for your 3 weeks. Here's your certificate. Right? What's a certificate? You know, we need a job. We need, if you do this work, if you're with us, if you show up on time, if you have the schmutz off, if you do what you're told and asked, and you follow through, and you do your homework, there's a job for you. That's part of this triad. There's got to be a job, there's got to be training, and there's got to be ongoing coaching. And we've seen that to be extremely successful for many of our young people. So, fall in love. Whatever it is you're doing, fall in love. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm always thoughtful of the faces of the young people that I see, and I'm inspired. And I think that that's something that I would offer you if you can't fall in love, and be creative. And if we're not communicative, if we're not relational, I'm going to say something that, you know, it's going to piss a few of you off. It's okay. But this political conversation, if we don't come together as brothers and sisters working in common good for the betterment of the world and for our young people, I mean, it's just a narcissistic fight. We got to get above ourselves. We've got to think bigger than that. And our young people are eager to move out of poverty, to move out of violence, to move out of, they don't want that. And we need to help them and to really reach out and to be there for them. And they make the difference. They make a change. And it's beautiful to see. I'm really blessed. I'll tell you one quick story and then I'm going to go, because I think I want coffee. No. We get referrals now from hospitals and police and people, kids on the internet. We get kids from all different ways of life. And we got a call from a young person, from a hospital, that said, we have a young person for you, but you got to watch him because he saw his mother die. And we often find that young people, nothing of their own, they've just put in this circumstance. So the young person came. And the reason why I want to tell this story, that he was highly suicidal. His eyes never left his shoes for the first week. He just sat. And I think the magic of what we try to do is this relationship. And our team just kept wrapping around this kid, giving him space and wrapping around him. Really important. And then as he started to move forward and his eyes lifted, people saw his goodness. Our challenge often, and I challenge those in the work world, in the social work world, they often want to diagnose and tell you what's wrong. I get that. That has its place. But it's not the essence. The essence is seeing the goodness in our young people. It's also, by the way, if you're struggling as an employer, you might want to see the goodness in your employees and recognize their goodness and then move from that. And then you create a space where they can start to look at the shadow, at the darkness, or the challenges, right? But we come from a strength-based perspective, and we wrapped around this kid, Jordan. Great kid. And then we have a mental health program. It's in Montclair. don't know if anybody knows or from Montclair, but you know, so many towns have kicked me out and don't let me go in there, right? Because I'm bringing a shelter. Montclair brought us in. We have a mental health program there. And we sent Jordan there. I'm going to fast forward. Jordan graduated from college, right? And that's not the Jones here. He also was going to medical school. That's not the Jones. What he's doing currently is he's working in the Bronx, and he's feeding 100 families a month, giving back because he was given to. See, this is what's going to happen. As we give and show young people that they can do, that they can achieve, and they believe in themselves, they can be part of this change too and make major contributions. We have to believe that in them. We saw that in Jordan, even when his eyes would not leave his shoes. We saw it in him. We saw his goodness. So I leave you with that. Find the goodness. Step out of your comfort zone. Use your creativity. Fall in love and ask. I am going to ask for breakfast, by the way. I was a little late, but I'm going to ask for breakfast. But I think that's what I hope to leave you with now, is this idea of stepping out, thinking of others, seeing the goodness, and working collaboratively. I don't know the answers to a lot of these things. It's overwhelming. But we've seen some real success because of partnerships with the business side, right, and with the social service side. And we're really facing this thing of inequality. I'm excited about the future, a little overwhelmed by how far we need to go. But I'm excited about what we can be if we can be brothers and sisters in the fight. Yeah, thank you.